Okay, good afternoon to everybody. I hope you had a nice lunch. My name is Martina HERVAT, and I come from Brijuni National Park in Croatia. So welcome you again. Before we start, I would like to welcome also the public, the attendees that are online and unfortunately couldn't come and join us here in this beautiful city. But we really appreciate the efforts to give some boost to the roadmap. And of course, we will give the floor to them as well. In the meantime, I would like to introduce you to this discussion session number 6, which is all about the communication, which is the key thematic topic, I believe, in our MPAs. But more or less, we try to avoid it because we don't feel really comfortable to use it in our everyday activities. Okay. Okay. Not that one, Julian. Okay. Not the case study to the presentation. Do I need to talk really? Yes. Okay, so welcome you to the discussion session number 6, which is about communicating, and we started really bad. And I really hope that during the session we will become better, and I hope that you will help me in that. So the topic is about communicating about MPAs to non-technical stakeholders and general public, which is quite a challenging topic. The team is, well, myself, and as I said, Martina HERVAT from the public institution Brijuni National Park from Croatia, so somebody from the MPA. And with me as moderator, we will have a consultant, Andrej Savinc from Narava from Slovenia. And as a reporter, we have Samantha Mankovec, director of the public institution Landscape Park Strunjan from Slovenia. So we moved a little bit to the Adriatic, but I hope that we will have the attendees from all over the Med. So why do we have this topic? If we really want to succeed in our management, we want to have stakeholders on our part. We need them as partners, not as somebody that is there to give us challenges in everyday management. But let's face it, our target audience is already overwhelmed with too many information. They don't hear us, and sometimes we don't give them really clear messages. Sometimes we even don't know what kind of messages we don't want to communicate. And let's face it, too often we are just there to give them some manifesto, and we don't want their feedback because this is the easiest way. But as a result, we don't get partners. And as one of the issue with bad communication is what the peer communication is often the main problem of our environmental challenges. So the question is, with this session, how do we really, first, can we engage the stakeholders? Are they interested to take part in the communication? How to engage them? And really, what should we do to reinforce our capacities? Because, for example, I'm a marine biologist, and I really struggle to give the message. We are not trained, we don't have the background in communication, and quite often we have the situation that MPAs are small, that have small staff, that don't have anybody who deals with public relation, who is, let's say, skilled in communication. And then we avoid communicating. And then we just post some information that doesn't really reach the public, and the public is not engaged. And we don't get them on our side. We don't get partners. So why to communicate? To make it simple, I put a few bullets. So one is to get the support for specific actions or policies. The other is to raise the awareness about some issue, to frame and change public policy, to influence, and this is really tricky, their behavior in everyday life, to impact their public opinion about a specific topic like, let's say, climate change, erosion, or something similar. And we would like, with the communication, to strengthen the relationship with specific audience. We forget that the audience is not only one. We have children. We have really small children. We have children in school. We have teenagers. We have adults. We have elderly people. We have really, really, really different type of targets, but we deliver more or less the same message to everybody, which is not really suitable. So our expectations, I would like to say that I often act as the first person, here on the slide, really cheerful, and I would like to give and show all my enthusiasm, like my other colleagues in the MPA, show how beautiful our work is, how much we are doing, what is the impact of our action, and why is that important. But at the end, with our communication, we'd end up with delivering, only delivering, not communicating, but delivering really specific technical messages that are not really heard by the public. So the purpose of this roadmap, we are targeting the strategic objective for the post-2020 roadmap of Mediterranean MPAs, which would like to build the capacity of MPA managers, staff and stakeholders to communicate about MPA's values to a larger extent audience to raise their awareness. And to be more specific about this objective, we chose 3 recommendations. Recommendation in the roadmap 4.2, which is to develop and implement a public relations strategy aligned with the MPA management plan, if there is a plan, that translates ecological, social, economic roles and benefits of each MPA into appropriate language that the audience can really hear and understand and accept by these non-technical stakeholders. Then we have the 4.6 recommendation, that is to train MPA staff, local stakeholders on conflict management, resolutions, engagement, and communication with the support of some expert advisors. And the third one would be to 4.1, to provide communication toolkits that would be translated to different languages that MPA managers can customize and adapt to local context to promote the value of MPAs for ecosystem service, local livelihood, and biodiversity conservation efforts. So we will have some case studies I will explain to you. But the main purpose of this session is not to talk about case studies, but to use them as a model, as something that will provide us some indication about the roadmap recommendation that just I mentioned. And the note taker will fill in an online document with the relevant recommendation related to these three inputs relevant to these three recommendations, some action needed to achieve the roadmap recommendation, then suggestion how to monitor if we are really successful with the recommendation and the actions, and then who is really responsible or who can really help implement the recommendation. The input will be all agreed and discussed on the roadmap working session that will take place this evening and tomorrow as well. And at the end, we will have a post-2020 recommendation that will be presented at the final day of this forum. So, to be brief, and this is the most pleasant part of the presentation, I would like to ask to present you the case study and to ask their presenters to join us here in front of this big screen. So the first case study would be from Ocean Streamer. It's about the first subaquatic video conference. So we would move to the Indian Ocean, and Alain DINIS for VirtualDive will join us virtually. So he's online. I hope we can see him.
Hello, everybody.
Alain online.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Alain.
How are you?
Thank you for joining.
You're welcome.
Then we have the case study 2, the role of community media, art and cultural technique in promoting marine protection. And I would like to ask Mr. Umit OZTURK from the Euro-Mediterranean Resource Network from the UK to join us here. Umit, please. Yes. And then we have two ladies. We have Roman Charo and Bertil Lefebvre from Women for Sea from France, and perhaps somebody online, Nathalie ILLE, who will present us a really beautiful video, and you will have a really amazing experience diving in Kalang National Park. Yes, Bertil and Roman, can you come? Thank you. I would just like to go, I think that we skipped the first slide where we have some indications about this session. So what to expect? Okay. For the online audience, I would like just to ask you kindly to write your name, to change your name if it's not well written, because it's a little bit difficult to deal with nicknames. I would like to say that this session will be recorded. If you are listening in a language that you don't understand, there will be translation in English and French. So please use the interpretation button to choose your language. So you have an English and a French channel. Please mute your mic so we can have a pleasant session. During the session, you can, and you're invited, and we would like to get your feedbacks. You're invited to use the chat, so please use it. And if you would like to have a word and speak, please use the reaction menu and raise your hand, and we will give you the floor at the discussion. So this is regarding the logistics. And now I would like to give the floor to our first presenter. Presentation number 1, Alain. So we are moving to the Indian Ocean. Alain, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm with us.
Okay. So the floor is yours, and we just need the presentation.
So hello, everybody. I'm very pleased to be able to present you the Ocean Streamer case study. Ocean Streamer has been invented by our company called VirtualDive. And I'm going to present you the concept of the first live underwater streaming concept. So can you move to the next slide, please?
Okay. Can you move
next slide, please?
Okay. Next slide. Julian, can you move the slide? Ah, it's me. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, so just to summarize what we did for the next the last 15 years, we have been carried on a lot of R&D projects that were financed by the French agencies and also a FP7 program called Digital Ocean. And our idea was really to be able to find new technologies to be able to really to raise public awareness and to develop ocean literacy among the public. And of course, to present them everything related to global warming, the water temperature, coral bleaching. So the idea was really to find a new tool that was able to reach the general audience through online video conferencing. So our roadmap, we started our project and the first experimentation last June, and where we did the first live video conferencing events live from the coral reef of the island of La Réunion, in association with the French National Research Institute, the IRD. We plan to do the same thing in other islands of the Indian Ocean, in the Seychelles and the Mauritius Island next year. And we plan to experiment our solution to MPAs in the Mediterranean during the summer 2022. Next slide, please. So concerning what we did at the La Réunion, the idea, of course, was, as it was an innovative project, was to carry on the technical part of the project and to do some testing, and also, of course, to see what was the interest that concerning our audience, knowing that our audience was mostly kids in the Indian Ocean schools. And but also indirectly to see the interest from MPAs, national reserves, and different kind of stakeholders. So we have been carried on the technical part, and we have been working with a marine biologist from the IRD, who was our commentator. We did the comment underwater, the live events. And the outcome were pretty good. We validated the technical part, but of course we also have a lot of interest concerning this kind of new communication system. And the result was that they were very interested in carrying on new experimentation in the near future. Next slide, please. So what we have learned is that it's feasible to do underwater live streaming. So it's exactly what we are doing right now. We are doing a Zoom event. We used Zoom also, but we connected our device that I will show you afterwards. We plan to improve a little bit our system concerning especially the possibility to have a screen that will allow the diver to have feedback from the video conference, and also to be able to have embedded information like fish recognition applications, the map, so have access to some databases. And of course, the success factor, the main one, is the possibility to have a good communication with the 4G or LTE communication system. But even in La Réunion, this condition was met. And of course, we need to have a good water visibility and good conditions in order to be able to carry on those kind of live events. And once we have those conditions that are set up, it's pretty easy to replicate that anywhere in the world and to carry on live events online. And of course, our case study is based on Objective 4, which is really to build capacity for MPAs and to raise awareness among the public. Next slide, please. So here is a small picture of the concept. So you have a diver who is equipped with our ocean streamer device, and we just sent a Zoom link to schools, and as soon as they can connect to the underwater video conference, it's really easy because the diver is equipped with an audio system, so he can speak, he can hear what's the comment from the teacher and the kids. So the concept is pretty simple, but it's a pretty we can implement that device like any other kind of underwater conferencing system. Next slide, please. So here you see with the our first prototype, some screenshots. So it was at depth, snorkeling depth, so I would say in between -0 and -3 meters. And you can see the screenshot of the video conferencing where different schools and stakeholders were able to connect and see the live event and have also the audio feedback from the diver. Next slide, please. So here you see the technical specification of the ocean streamer. So basically, it's an underwater computer which is equipped with several cameras. One camera that is filming the environment, one camera that is filming the diver. We have an audio system that, as I said before, that allows the diver to speak and also to hear what's the comments from the surface if the diver is equipped with a facial mask. And we can go up to -30 meters depth. Next slide, please. And here you can see our web platform that can be deployed as a web brand with the name of our partners, and where every information is contextualized on the map. You can see the live event on the web TV, and you can have your own Facebook thread, so the internet user can ask questions, and also you can have access to replays and to build up your community. And one of our projects is to be able to stream both in 2D, like what we're doing right now, but also in virtual reality 3D. So the idea is that the internet users with a VR mask will be teleported underwater in real time and to see exactly what the diver is seeing. Next slide, please. Also on our web platform, we have developed a GIS that allows the scientists and the biologists to be able to map and to geolocalize different point of information and point of interest. And once we have gathered all this information, we can, if we have, for example, bathymetrical information, we can also recreate the site or the marine reserve in 3 dimensions for a virtual visit. And we have carried on the first experimentation with the Parc National of Porquerolles in the south of France. Next slide, please. So our action really is to be able to develop and to raise public awareness. Our project really fits, we think it fits very well with objective number 4, and especially 4.1 and 4.2. Next slide, please. And concerning the indicators, as it's an online system, it's pretty easy to have a fully measurable indicators. For example, who viewed the live events, for how long, who has connected to the live event, how many you're engaged to the live event, and also to be able to see from what regions the people were connected. Next slide, please. Concerning the partnership, what we did in the Indian Ocean, it was in the framework of an Interreg program. The project was called Pareo, It was in association with the IRD and the National Park of La Réunion. But previously, we did some experimented in the Mediterranean with the Banyuls Observatory and also, as I said before, the Parc National de Porquerolles. And our idea is really to be able to communicate and to work with the different stakeholders and partners. And we think that our project can really fit and be used by most of the partners of and the different MPAs and the partners that are already working with you in the next future. Next slide, please. Well, and that's it. So feel free to contact me if you have any. You need any information about our project and how it can fit your needs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alain. This is really, really nice and extraordinary, I would say.
Thank you.
Andrea, do you have anything to add? Any questions?
Well, I would like to suggest that we can accept one question from the public about the presentation. And then I would like to ask you if you have some comments, some proposals or ideas how to place the idea that we heard now in the framework of the actions, recommendations and partnerships for the draft roadmap for the post-2020 period. First, are there, if there are questions about this product, about the presentation, please skip the technical questions on how to do this presentation, how strong should be the internet or this kind of things. But if you have some ideas which emerged from seeing and listening to the presentation, which might contribute to the roadmap that we are preparing. And yes, there is a question in French.
Thank you very much. My name is Mustafa Fouda from Egypt. This is quite interesting communication with kids. And as far as I understood, the whole issue about communication, you use non-technical people, you do it for non-technical people. So my main question is, what is the communication language that you use? I'm not talking about English or French. Communication language that you need to speak with decision makers, for example, you need to use their own language that like investment, for example, biodiversity can provide investment, job opportunities, gender issues. This is the way how decision makers can understand. But at the same time, when you talk to different stakeholders, they have different needs, and then you need to tune your communications to suit their own interest. After all, they are the beneficiaries, the one that make use of this, and they are the one that they damage. So you didn't go and say, this is bad, whatever you need, So my main interest now, what is the communication language that you use rather than thinking about the tools that could be expensive, whatever. After all, I come from the southern Mediterranean. Most of what I have seen is quite expensive. I cannot afford it if I have to do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for this question. Alain, did you hear the question?
Yes, of course.
Can you respond?
Yeah, of
so
course.
It was the question about the target group and the language chosen.
Well, basically what we did in La Réunion was, of course, it was dedicated to schools children. But what we did with the Ocean Streamer, it's a device, and the idea, it's like a new communication tool. The message we want to diffuse, it's not really up to us, it's up to our partners. So for example, you can have like what you're doing right now, it's a live session. You can imagine program different type of sessions according to your audience. So if it's with schools, you can find the right biologists that can talk easily with school children. But if it's a more technical device for MPAs manager, then you will have your own message to those type of audience. So basically, it's like what you're doing right now. You have different type of sessions during your events. we can imagine the same thing with us and to storytell differently according to what is the audience. And concerning the question about the price, our idea is really to have something very low cost that will be affordable for everybody. So the idea is at one point in time to be able to have a lot of partners equipped with a device and to open like a web portal where the different stakeholders will be able to subscribe to different events. And our idea is at one point in time to have maybe weekly events all year long. And if we can have a lot of people connect that will be able to connect to our events, then I think it would be a nice way to reach a larger audience.
Thank you. There any other questions? Alain, just one last remark. Do you think that your product, your presentation should probably fit into the action component of the three components, so actions, recommendations, and partnerships? Do you think that the newly developed tool would equally be important for other audiences, so not primarily children, or
yes.
more?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But for example, when I was discussing a few years ago with the National Park of Porcro, their idea was to be able to have a tool to monitor the evolution of underwater ecosystem. And for example, we can do a live event with different specialists and marine biologists at one point in time to be able to map the ecosystem at this point, and to maybe to do another event a few months later, and to be able through our GIS to be able to see the differences in the evolution of the marine protected area, for example.
There is another question back.
Thank you very much. As you are speaking about Porcro, I am an expert. Just would like to add some information about this point. We are sure that this type of communication is very difficult. It's not so easy for the MPAs. And due to our experiences in the National Park of Porcro, we could see the result of feeling nature, contact, feeling nature with kids and with people, feeling. Because we have a lot of images, lot of pictures through the TV, computer, and so on and so on. But feeling is never organized. That's one point. Second point, fun and culture. For instance, in Porcro, if you go into the submarine whale, in submarine trail, and if you see the pictures, you have a lot of information with very funny drones made by a specialist, a high-level driner, to show the law, to show what to do, to show what not to do, but with fun. And it's very crazy to see all the pictures. Other point, showing positive and beauty.
Online.
You know, if we communicate on the bad points, it doesn't work. If we communicate on positive points, on the beauty of nature, it's a good result. And to close, at the moment in Porcro, we organize each week concerts, music, high-level music, conferences, free for every people living on boards around the park. And they all come and they all appreciate a lot what we did. And then they understood that National Park PA is not only a way where it is forbidden. It's a way for leisure, a way for pleasure, a way to feel, a way to understand and to profit from good nature. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll take the privilege to say that your words clearly fit into the recommendation part. And I hope that our rapporteur took notes about that. Another question there.
Can you just see the chat?
Can we also check the chat questions on the internet?
Just to display the chat and the online audience.
Can I maybe reply to the question before?
Hello. There we go. So building up on what have been said and showing feelings and using out of the box what we use in marine protected areas and what have you. It's now the technology faster than we think. We have been showing feelings using our different apps and WhatsApp and all that. Now we don't have to use that anymore if we link to the technology now being used in the private sector in the AI, where feelings are way ahead of us, and the new generation using that in all sorts of fields. And we need to do that link very fast because that have its implication on the resources that are very limited, and also for the decisions that have to be taken by managers and resource people that contribute to the decisions on the strategic level and with the different stakeholders. So mainstreaming that into the different sectors, it's way beyond us now. And if you use that linking to the nature-based solutions and the technology with our communication strategies, save us lots of time and resources that we don't have anymore. So I hope that could be taken into consideration. Of course, now linking nature-based solutions to AI, the circle, if you like, in between the applications being used with the private sector, especially in the business sector, we can benefit a lot of making that partnership and connection with academians, with researchers, marine protected areas managers, etc. So I hope that could be taken into consideration and see how we can make that link. Well, I thank you again for your remark.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for this. May I just ask, are there any online questions? Martina, can we then skip them and go to the second presentation, please, because we are losing time. Yeah. Okay. So, can I ask then for the presentation number 2?
Presentation number 2. Yes. Okay. Okay. I would like to present you Mr. Umit OZTURK, who will present the role of community media, art and cultural technique in promoting marine protection from the Mediterranean Resource Network from the United Kingdom. Umit, please.
Okay. Maybe green one so that I can do some green wash. And it's not because I'm socially distancing from you, but I brought in wrong glasses, so I want to be closer to the screen. Maybe, yeah, we can go ahead. Maybe I shouldn't read all of this, but it's will slides be available later on for participants? All these slides? will they be available for participants? These slides, the participants, can they see the slides later? Okay, yeah. I'll be brief on this page. And so we are a 20-year-old organization, and because there are a lot of people in our organization with background in media, communications, PR, and not spin, but PR, ethical PR, we thought we can focus on media literacy and also on cultural heritage. And we believe that if we do some kind of cultural archaeology and bring to the light the underreported and underrepresented, under-highlighted depth and wealth of cultural heritage of every location in the world, then there will be no stereotypes and people will interact with each other without any kind of mindset. And that's why in this case study, we focused on the ways of increasing media awareness and literacy, and also how to increase the participation of new marine protection allies. Can people be a part of the alliance or not? If they cannot, how we can make sure that they can be allies? So we brainstormed about this. And the main target audience were, because we are based in the UK, and people may say, you're based in the UK, it's not Mediterranean. How come? Well, we are Euro-Mediterranean network. And also, if there was no pandemic, the British tourists would be everywhere, all across Mediterranean. So we'll talk more about this. So we wanted to make sure that the people from UK, EU member states, Council of Europe member states, 47 states, and also people coming and going to the Mediterranean region, including the immediate neighbors, will have more participation. And also there were in our study willing but not confident masses, and we will see why they were willing but they were not confident in getting involved in marine protection. Next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so I thought, as we are talking about the role of informal education and arts and cultural techniques, I thought we can add images and talk informally about this. So as you see, human beings are as curious as cats. They want to explore everything, but there are challenges because sometimes simply it's lack of awareness. Nobody tells them about marine protection areas, the importance of climate crisis around the world, the beauty of the biosphere of this planet. So simply lack of awareness. But sometimes there are limiting beliefs, mindsets in people's minds, like these three beautiful cats saying, oh no, we don't have a university degree on ecology. How can we get involved? They have this kind of limiting beliefs. And as the legendary French philosophers Gilles Deleuze and Félix Guattari once said, only the idea can inject the venom, which is sometimes quoted as, only the mind can inject the poison. So if you don't let this kind of mindset, then you will think freely. And there is also a kind of fear of the unknown, fear of the unread. You give people a report about, well, I mean, if we take copies of this action plan, the roadmap in the streets, many people will be scared away. They will think it's so scientific, so academic. So there is this fear of unknown, unread books, unread literature. People think it will be too much for them. They will have headache, give me aspirin, give me paracetamol, this kind of unnecessary fears, unfounded fears. And the stereotypes and cultural superstitions also play a role because sometimes, and today we saw a beautiful example of a marine protection program in Albania, but thanks to creative industries like Hollywood films, Albanians are vilified as sadistic, psychopathic, brutal killers who kill many friends of James Bond, and James Bond kills his brother and all this. And when people visit, say, Albania in this case, also it applies to many other countries, people think that, you know, it's quite scary. People say, I should just enjoy my holiday here in a holiday village. I shouldn't be just poking my nose into environmental issues, organized crime, corrupt local administrations, and all this. Yeah, so they just, you know, keep their mouth shut and come back. Of course, there are risks when we talk about tourism or marine areas. Tourism and organized crime are like metal and magnet; they attract each other. Unfortunately. This is coupled with disinformation and misinformation, a lot of myths, a lot of other cultural myths, mostly through mainstream media, and also about bad examples, bad practices on social media. Next one, please. So we thought perhaps we can use different techniques. So instead of scaring people away with a lot of big reports with academic technical jargon, on the right-hand side, you see we built a timber frame and covered it with recycled paper. We said, this is a greenhouse, comfort tea and coffee. This is in Central Library in Brighton, Jubilee Library. And people enjoy their coffee, tea, cookies, and all this. And they then started to look at the posters. In every page, there was a list of environmental problems all around Mediterranean. So they were not intimidated. They saw that it's not a kind of scary story. They don't need to study at university. They started to ask questions, and we enlightened them with, shall we say, cholesterol-free information. So we, simplified it for them so that the information would be easy to digest. And we also use the creative writing techniques. I developed a new creative writing template where examples are never from UK, from all parts of the world, especially about the cultural heritage, myths, legends, folk tales, poetry of every nation, going back to thousands of years back, so that people will start writing more about this, which includes a depiction of illustration of nature, environmental values of every country around Mediterranean in the form of stories, travel writing, and poetry. And we also thought we can use other methods, including community media, which brings us to our next slide. We have a community radio station in Brighton, and this is all volunteers coming from France, Italy. I think Italians always outnumber the other interns from other parts of Mediterranean. That's why we call our team as Gattissimo team, because we are all cat lovers. And instead of saying Benissimo team, we say Gattissimo team. And community radio station is different than commercial radio stations. We don't have any commercials. We don't have any bosses. We are masterless. Nobody orders us any instruction. We are not afraid of any funders cutting our funds because it's run by volunteers. And we don't have to bend our words and narratives. We have ultimate freedom of speech. And we also ran until recently, until UK pulled the plug on Erasmus program. We had
2 minutes, Umit. 2 minutes.
Yeah, sure. We had interns from all countries. So we had it as well as English. We had it in 5 additional languages, Arabic, French, Italian, Spanish, and Turkish. We stopped it, but hopefully we will start. And lastly, we have a poetry club and film club. When people hear poetry, when people see films from different countries, as you can see, there is one poster about the ancient honey making techniques and the importance of the honeybees for our survival on planet. And there is one about 1,000 years of olive tree. But when people see this, they don't see only the olive tree. They hear about other problems of the region. And next slide, please. So we had some lessons learned, and if I combine all of them, when people see that we don't represent anybody, not a government, not a political party, and no private sector backers, when they see that we are completely independent and we don't want anything from them, there is a trust, increased trust. So they believe what we say, and we ask them to get into our awareness sessions, training sessions, so that they will be more aware of environmental problems across Mediterranean. When they visit the region, they will be more responsible tourists, and they will be potential future prospective allies with other environmental groups and activist groups, grassroots groups in there. I think that's all, and we have got just one recommendation to page to mention. We adopted all three actions, and we have got our statements of reasons there, and you can read maybe later. It's all text. Next one, please. I think it's the last one. No. Next slide. There's no next slide. There should be one. Yes, so we have measurable quantitative and qualitative indicators as we listed there. And the very last one, I believe, no, the partnership, we would like to increase our partnership with cross sectors, and not only statutory bodies, not only private sector, not only individuals, not only civil society groups, but all of them. I think this will be the last. Okay, so MPA stands for marine protected areas, but I discovered that MPA may also mean market protection agent. This is my friend Gribuya from Nice, and MPA may also mean museum protection agent. This is my friends from Archaeology Museum in Nice. So I thank you for enduring my talk. And I leave you with my organization's motto, that's love, peace, and solidarity. P.S. There is a Mediterranean proverb, and proverbs, the regional culture, local culture is quite important. One proverb says, let's eat sweet and talk sweet words. So I brought some sweets for you. They are completely safe. Some toffee eclair. I will pass it around. Maybe we can put it on a table. And I've got my business card. I will put it next to it. So enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And if I exceeded my time, self-punishment.
Teşekkür. I would just like, before Andre, to ask, do we have anybody in the audience online? No, nobody. No. Okay, so let's stick to this room. Andre, it's not working. Would you like to come here?
So we'll have we'll allow one question about the presentation. There is a question, yeah. Okay.
Well, excuse me for my ignorance. What is marionette? Because I tried to understand Euro marionette. I didn't understand. But my question to you is, what about the cultural heritage in terms of the knowledge they have? I mean, in our religion, for example, it says very clear, don't damage the environment or the land after it was restored. So you have incredible messages from our traditional knowledge. So the question is, traditional knowledge are so diverse, and you should make use of them rather than pretending that you didn't know much about them. I learn a lot from fishermen. I learn a lot from those farmers that they have learned a lot through time. Thank you.
Please. Hello. Thanks for an input. The first point about Euro-Mediterranean, Euro-Mediterranean resources network. We used to be called Mediterranean resources, but because there are many Europeans living in Mediterranean countries and many Mediterraneans living in European countries, and some countries are both Europe and Mediterranean, unfortunately, sometimes when you say Mediterranean, people think about anywhere from Portugal to Greece and Turkey and Cyprus. And when you talk about Tunisia, when you talk about Morocco, they say, oh, it's Africa. And this happened in our stage plays. I'm also a playwright. I wrote a play called Do You Know Who I Am Not? And people pointed all the Maghreb countries as African countries, all the northern Mediterranean countries as European and Mediterranean countries. So we decided to include all of this and their neighbors, all in all, 82 countries in and around the region. And about the local cultures, ancient cultures, yes, they are important. This was one of the reasons why we had multilingual radio shows, because there are people who are exempt, who have no obligation to learn English, people above a certain generation. And their wisdom, their knowledge, their non-scientific, non-technical, old school, old traditional ways of caring for nature is very important, but they cannot explain this in English. When they say it in French or Arabic or Turkish or Spanish or Italian, the young generation hear it in 5 languages plus English. And this gives a lot of inspirational ideas for future in their plans for future environmental protection ideas. It's not just scientists, it's the elderly, it's the organic hard disk, organic hard drive in their head that has the most valuable, one of the most valuable sets of information and technical and tactical ideas. That's why we had multilingual versions of the radio show. So I support your statement wholeheartedly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Umit. Can I have one question? If there are no other questions in the room. Actually, we were facing 2 different presentations so far. One, which was, let's say, presented using the new media and the specific target group, at least at the presentation. Here we were amazed to see that you're developing or you're running exhibitions, and then you have community radio, film, poetry, cultural heritage clubs. How does this fit in the modern world where we are more used to social media? So how do you recruit your audiences? Can you give us a recommendation how to attract these people?
Sure. In order to convince, persuade the masses about the moderate approach or balanced approach attitude, then it will be less difficult to achieve your goal. For instance, let me make you feel hungry because it will be dinner time soon. Think about pizza. We all need to feed ourselves and say we all like pizza, but some people, they don't have tolerance or they have allergy to some ingredients. So some people will have it, this kind of pizza, some people have it with different topping. So this means that there cannot be just one solution that you can photocopy or clone and ask everybody to follow, because there are diverse communities, there are different needs. And in order to balance these different needs, we make sure that if there is a certain group who are interested in mostly social media way of learning, Googling, attitude and all this, we focus on this, help in order to help them to make a good balance of using technical gadgets or relying on the IT technology much, we help them to reunite, reconnect with the nature. So in a way, we are trying to rehumanize the dehumanized relations between human beings, because there is a significant number of people who are so disheartened with this increasing culture of sending a massive survey to people saying, click on this, answer the question so that we'll have our pie chart and our graphics and all this. People want to see each other and interact with each other one-to-one. That's why in all our events, as well as using the wonders of technology, doing the multi-window presentation on a big screen and with hi-fi equipment, with music from around the world. We also have food. Food unites people. So we have, you know, food and music and everything, so that people won't think that we are not going to the communities. They see that we are going to the communities. We are not asking communities to respond us whenever we need something. This will be a good balance, I think, a good model for many local organizations in the region.
Well, I think I noticed a kind of similarity between what Umit just said now, that we need to reunite with the nature, with the comment that was given before from Port Crow, saying that we need to have a direct contact with nature. So this should for sure be, you know, having experience, direct experience with nature, and reuniting ourselves with nature should be one of the recommendations for our rapporteur. So with this, if there are no other questions, I would like to finish this second presentation and giving.
Okay, can we put the movie? So now, please, we will have a really nice dive in Calanque National Park in France, with really some nice shots made available by Women for Sea and our distinguished guest here. So let's take a small break and just enjoy. Did you like it? I think it was really amazing. A really different experience that we were talking about before. And now it's really hard to get back to some recommendations, to some really hard administrative, technical formats. And the question is, how can we really transfer this feeling in the roadmap? So, Andrei.
Yes, this time I would start with asking if there are questions in the audience, skipping completely the technical part, but perhaps something about the impressions. If I may add, I might start. For me, one of the key values here was that I heard some new voices, the sound of the silence. But perhaps we should invite the authors to say a couple of words. If you could help us, where do you see the actions that are needed? Are there any indicators to monitoring the success of this kind of communication? And if you could suggest any partnership to help in promoting and implementing this kind of artistic approach.
Ça marche? Je peux parler en français? Ok. Donc, bonjour, je suis la réalisatrice Romane Charot. Pour ce film, on l'a choisi artistique. On a voulu justement changer de format pour attirer les gens, pour intriguer, pour que les gens voient aussi la mer Méditerranée d'une autre manière, qui est le son. Et on pense qu'à travers le son, on peut aussi fasciner, et on pense qu'avec cette fascination, on peut inspirer à la protection des aires marines. Nous avons tourné essentiellement dans le parc national des Calanques. Donc nous cherchons aussi une communication locale autour de Marseille. Avec la ville de Marseille, nous avons établi un plan à travers les écoles. Nous pensons que c'est un bel axe pour parler de la protection marine, avec comme introduction ce film qui montre une grande diversité de la mer Méditerranée, et après inciter à la protection à travers la fascination. Il sera également présent dans des événements environnementaux locaux pour pouvoir débattre avec le grand public, parce que le but, c'est de toucher le grand public, et nous pensons qu'avec un format court et artistique comme celui-ci, on peut toucher beaucoup plus de gens que quelque chose de très naturaliste. Là, on peut vraiment, à travers ce côté artistique, on peut vraiment toucher un grand public qui est beaucoup plus difficile quand on parle de scientifique. C'est une sorte de vulgarisation. En plus, il n'y a pas de voix off ou quoi que ce soit, donc c'est accessible à toutes les langues. C'est vraiment un format qui peut s'exporter pour tout le monde, en fait. Je ne sais pas si tu veux rajouter quelque chose.
Oui, du coup, ce projet s'inscrit dans notre association, Women for Sea, qui du coup crée des voyages, des odyssées féminines en fait depuis plus de 10 ans. Et un des objectifs pour ça, c'est effectivement d'inspirer, c'est de créer du lien, de reconnecter l'être humain avec la nature, mais aussi d'avoir un impact positif sur l'océan. Donc on l'a déjà dit plusieurs fois avec plusieurs interventions, l'importance de reconnecter l'humain, l'importance de faire sentir, de mettre la place de l'amour aussi dans les impacts qu'on veut avoir sur l'environnement marin.
Yes, well, thank you. There is a question that
Hi. Yeah, thank you. It was a really interesting approach and quite mesmerizing when you look at it in a large screen like this. I just have a recommendation mostly because you're talking about the sound of the sea, and there is actually a soundscape of lots of different habitats in the sea which could be used as a background in these kind of films, and they are also quite mesmerizing. I don't know if you're aware of them. Lots of different species, lots of fish, lots of shrimps, they do make sounds, and perhaps it would be a good idea to incorporate those in your videos, mentioning it as well, because there is indeed lots of interesting sounds in the sea. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I think it was more a comment than really a question, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you want to add something or no? Are there any other questions to this, the third case study, so the video? If they're not, of course, we are behind the schedule, but we started late. Anyhow, I'd like to ask you to help in drafting the goals for the past 2020. And you see here on the screen that we have the three words, the three magic words that we are repeating all the time during this presentation. So are there any specific actions that are needed? Now we don't talk about the presentations. We are talking about the communication. So are there any specific actions needed to achieve the recommendation of, let's say, of an effective communication? And what could be the indicators that would show us that the communication works well? And of course, we'd be delighted to hear if you could propose some concrete ideas and also some concrete partnership, how to improve the process of communication. So I wonder if there are some thoughts for our colleagues who are drafting the new strategy. Yes, there is one. Thank you. One behind.
Merci. Donc, je vais parler en français ce coup-ci, ce sera plus facile. Donc, bon, comme beaucoup, on a apprécié le film. Par rapport aux trois questions qui sont posées, quelles sont les actions possibles pour renforcer les recommandations? De mon point de vue, il serait intéressant de créer pour chaque aire protégée ou pour un groupe d'aires protégées une sorte de groupe de travail avec des professionnels de la communication, des professionnels de l'enseignement, des professionnels du dessin, des professionnels de la culture, des professionnels qui pourraient chacun apporter un regard pour mettre en place une série d'événements. Je ne vais pas vous détailler tout ce qu'on avait fait à l'époque à Porco, mais je pourrais vous parler de communication des enfants où on était vraiment en contact, parce que je considère que c'est le métier des aires protégées, c'est de mettre en contact. C'est notre métier de mettre les gens en contact avec le bois, en contact avec la terre, en contact avec l'eau, de les mettre en contact. Ça, c'est notre métier à nous. Voilà, ça, je crois que c'est très important. Et un groupe de travail avec des gens dont c'est le métier pourrait faire émerger des propositions. Ensuite, comme indicateur de suivi, il y a plusieurs pistes. On peut déjà voir, par exemple, sur les sentiers, comment les gens se comportent après avoir été sensibilisés, voir s'ils sortent des sentiers ou pas, avec des suivis d'impact sur les sentiers. On peut aussi avoir des indicateurs avec des fiches à remplir à l'arrivée et au départ. On peut aussi avoir des indicateurs comme on a dans les aéroports et dans pas mal d'endroits où on appuie sur les touches vert, jaune ou rouge pour savoir si on est content, pas content, il y a du positif, etc. Il y a plusieurs outils comme ça. Mais encore une fois, moi, je considère que c'est un domaine très particulier, très difficile, la communication, et qu'on a vraiment besoin de petits groupes, de gens dont c'est la spécialité. Voilà. Et pour les partenaires, ben, ça rejoint ce que je disais, c'est les partenaires avec ça peut être l'éducation nationale, ça peut être des scientifiques qui peuvent corriger le tir quand on a une erreur, des artistes. Je crois que l'idée du film, c'est intéressant parce qu'on a la dimension artistique, là, nouvelle, qui peut éveiller d'autres idées. Mais je pense que seul dans son coin, moi je connais plusieurs parcs et plusieurs réserves où il y a une personne qui est en charge de ce problème. Ben, cette personne, si elle a la chance d'avoir une culture qui permet d'élargir le champ, c'est très bien. Mais si elle a avec elle 2, 3 autres personnes qui ont une ouverture sur d'autres domaines, ça va lui permettre de voir les choses différemment et peut-être de répondre davantage à la surprise. Comme ça a été dit, on a besoin de surprises, on a besoin de positif, on a besoin de quelque chose de beauté, on en a ras-le-bol vraiment de voir qui ne va pas, tous les problèmes sanitaires et pollution. Pour une fois, dans les aires protégées, nous avons vraiment des espaces de grande qualité, c'est à nous de le montrer. C'est à nous, c'est notre métier de montrer ça. Je vais juste vous donner un exemple. À Port-Croix, à une époque, nous avions 5 aquariums de 1200 litres. 5 aquariums dans le fort de l'Estissac. Ces aquariums, ils étaient magnifiques. Chaque aquarium représentait un milieu particulier. La posidonie, le sable, etc. Et puis, un jour, un de ces aquariums, parce que c'est loin de la mer et tout, enfin, c'était en altitude par rapport au niveau de la mer, eh ben, il a plus marché. L'eau était devenue trouble. On n'a pas pu le récupérer. On en a profité pour faire l'aquarium pollution. Et on a ajouté de la pollution dedans. Mais je peux vous dire que sans aucun mot, sans aucun discours, les gens, ils faisaient le tour, ils voyaient les 4 aquariums magnifiques et puis ils tombaient sur celui-là. Eh bien, je vais vous dire, le message, il passait clair et net et ce n'était pas la peine de faire des discours et toutes les nationalités le comprenaient. Voilà, c'est juste des exemples comme ça, si vous voulez, du concret, parce que je considère vraiment que c'est notre métier, ça, de montrer du beau, de montrer du contact. Merci.
Well, yeah, thank you very much. That was very, very concrete, and this is exactly what we need. I have a question back to you. Could you help just to explain by saying that we would like to have a working group? Should this recommendation go to METPAN, or should it go to the government, or should it go to the national networks of marine protected areas? Where would you address this recommendation? To what forum? On working groups, you know, on establishing a group of experts. At which level? Should this be a task for the METPAN or for the country?
Yes. To me, it should be interesting to start with METPAN, for example, because it's a good way to share with MPAs. And through this special session with METPAN, we could share the ideas with many people. And at the end, we can conclude that the working group, the ideal working group should be with until, and then 5-6 persons, not more. And then if it works, we can explore and share with all the MPAs to continue. To me, METPAN should be the good way.
Thank you very much. That was most helpful. Yeah. Any idea? Yes, we have 2 more, I think. Yeah.
Hello. My name is Robin Snape and I work with small-scale fisheries in Northern Cyprus. When we're talking about non-technical stakeholder communities, I think one of the biggest non-technical stakeholders are the fishermen, especially the small-scale fishermen. And I just wonder what communication methods we can use to specifically target the small-scale fisheries, because they're one of the biggest lobbies, one of the biggest brick walls that we can face when we are trying to implement actions, conservation actions in marine protected areas. So I just wanted to put it to the group that, you know, perhaps we could have some sort of focal discussion about this going forward. When you speak to the fishermen and you try to get their support or lobby or try to persuade them that it's a good idea for them to set up marine protected areas or to support them, they ask, what's in it for me? Of course, we are going to be potentially closing some areas to them and affecting their livelihoods. And often these people are in the most economically needy or marginalized communities. So, for example, we go to them with pescatourism. We can develop pescatourism, or there will be this kind of spillover effect. We close an area and there will be a spillover effect. It's difficult for them to see or to understand these solutions. And one way of communicating that to them is to get them in exchange visits, to take them to see other areas, to book flights, organize workshops for them overseas to see best practice examples of how MPAs are well run and they are benefiting the fishermen through, for example, pescatourism or the spillover effect of the MPA.
Yeah, thank you. Do you think that we need to develop a kind of toolkit for, let's say, for running the pescatourism? Would that be of some help?
Actually, yes, this is something that we are looking for in Northern Cyprus at the moment, working with the authorities to try to put in draft regulations in place for developing pescatourism, and it's difficult to find one set toolkit or a toolbox which includes suggested legislation regarding health and safety, regarding all kinds of aspects of pescatourism. But I think generally it would be good to have a toolkit for communicating with small-scale fishermen and the ways to persuade them or be persuasive with them to get them on board with MPAs.
Yeah, thank you. Great, noted. There's another question here.
I'm Domenico Sgambati from Marine Protected Area of Punta Campanella. Mine is not a question, but it's an observation. Concerning the movie that we saw, I think that it's one of the actions needed to spread the message about the beauties and the richness of the underwater life more than in a rational way that is talking and discussing and trying to find the balance between businesses and conservation. What is doing a movie like this is touching people. And so in this case, actions needed are to find a way to raise the passion, thanks also to the help of artists and other professions. So it's a multidisciplinary action. I'm sorry if I'm repeating maybe something that was already said in French language. I didn't get everything, so maybe it's a repetition. So actions needed is to raise passion through just the discovery. Something that, for example, in marine protected areas is done usually because the public is coming from very different cultural experiences, especially in places that are very touristic, and you have to find a way to give, to communicate with people. Also using, in some cases, I want to go to the number 3, so partnerships, to the lessons that could be inspired by schools that work with nature. I have a couple of examples coming from US that usually is the Bible for naturalistic communication, and it's usually very inspiring, giving many suggestions and methods on how to work on them. About monitoring indicators, so partnership, schools of communication, indicators, I don't know about monitoring indicators on this recommendation. It could be once we tried to do research on specific actions of the park. So we had a dozen of actions that we were suggesting to people, asking to them from different cultural background, asking them which one was like interesting, well done, positive, and for them, actions made by our marine protected area. And it was an indicator because in this way you can understand how people see you. It's not an indication on how you're working, it's just understanding if an action that is well done from your point of view is well seen by people that have a different point of view, like fishermen or businessmen, like hotels or touristic societies and etc.
Well, thank you so much. Great. I'm sorry to say, but we are now really at the point where we'll have to close this this discussion, I think. And the reason was because we had bad communication at the beginning, so I'm sorry for that. Thank you very much in my name, but I'm passing the word to Martina. She's better in these things than I am.
No, I wouldn't like to. Is it working? Okay, so before I thank you, I would like to step out as a coordinator and be just one of you in the public and say, Andre, I would like to add something for the roadmap, if that is okay with you. So regarding the 4.2, I would like to say, in my personal opinion, that this is a recommendation about developing communication strategies that are in line with the management plan. But we know that only a small percentage of MPA in the Med really have management plan. And then it would be like, what? Do we really need to wait to have a management plan to start communicating? No, we really need to start communicating from the beginning. So regarding the management plan, I would say for this 4.2 that we would need to have a good communication strategy, internal and external, for each MPA. Who should do that? In my opinion, it should be done some guidelines at the state level, or it could be done in cooperation with NGOs and networks of MPAs that could be national or regional. And regarding the indicators, I think that an indicator could be some questionnaire, some evaluation that could be carried on by staff from the MPA before and after some action, some awareness campaign or etc., to see if we really have the audience on board. Then, do we have somebody from the audience? No. Okay. And another just point, if you allow me 1 minute, it's about developing the toolkit. I would just like to have one suggestion that we don't need to reinvent the wheel. So it would be useful before starting trying to find some funds to develop new toolkits, that we find the toolkits that are already available. There are so many toolkits around, developed by different entities, that could be reused, reshaped. So sometimes we don't need a lot of money and new projects, but we just need to reuse the old one. Thank you. So regarding this session, I hope that it was useful. Thank you all for coming here. Thank you all for your valuable comments. I hope that you will treasure some experience. I think that we tackled a lot of things, and in my point of view, we understood that sometimes we have to listen to the heart and try to connect our audience with our beloved subject, and this is the sea. And we can do it by connecting with artists, with different NGOs that tackle environmental justice, that work with the municipalities, the kids, the schools. We have to be innovative. So don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone to learn something new. There are so many opportunities, and there are so many people that do not really work in MPAs, but are willing to help you. So thank you for being here, and see you next time.